Right, welcome to this deployment tactics video. It's for the Necrons. It's going to take our 2,000 points list and show you how it actually deploys and is used in a game of 10th edition. It's great to see lists laid out, talking about units and tactics and so on, but how do they actually deploy and then what do they do after that is what we'll cover here in this video. So first up, we'll go through the Necron list just briefly. If you want a full lowdown on the list, do check out the complete army video. I go through the whole list, the details of it, all of the points, enhancements, detachment choice, why I've chosen each unit. Is all covered in detail in that video, so do check that out. It's going to give you a deeper dive on this Necron list that you can see here. This one comes to 1985 points for 10th edition, just going by the latest points update from Games Workshop. So we have, in no particular order, it's Awakened Dynasty for the detachment. The idea is to add characters in to units to give them a boost. There's some great stratagems and enhancements for that detachment as well. So we have, so we'll go with Necron Overlord across here, Tachyon Arrow and Glaive being taken. Veil of Darkness, which enables him and his unit to be removed from the battlefield and then deep strike back in on the next turn. Technomancer. A Royal Warden. There's lots of little characters here in this list. Just each one that joins the unit will give them that boost. +1 to hit rolls. Then we have a Skorpekh Lord. Then we have Skorpekh Destroyers, squad of 6. Triarch Pretorians. The Catacomb Command Barge with a Resurrection Orb and blade for him. 6 Wraiths. Then 2 blocks of 20 Necron Warriors, all equipped with Gauls Flayers. Lokhust Heavy Destroyers with some anti-tank. And backline objective hold and anti-tank, anti-heavy infantry type unit there. With the Doomstalker, one of those. And then finally we have 6 Tomb Blades across here. So that's the list here for the Necrons. Very briefly, the strategy for these is block of infantry to maintain the backline and push surge forwards. Backline support coming from these units here. A free floating Tomb Blades unit to wherever I need it. And then 3 combos to go after no man's land objectives. The first one being Skorpekh Lord and Skorpekh Destroyers. Triarch Pretorians operate on their own or be joined by the Barge. And then the Technomancer and Wraiths as a third combo. So that's the list here for the Necrons. We'll look at deployment now for them. How do they actually deploy and play in an actual game? So gone for a terrain setup, a little bit different to usual, but whatever the deployment zone is, the tactics are going to be generally the same. I've gone for a sort of Dawn of War deployment this time, so running across the ways, the deployment marked here by the green dice. And then usually in 10th edition there's 5 objectives on the board. It's usually a home objective for yourself, and then one for the opponent. The other one's across the other side, just over there. And then what's crucial for 10th edition is the no man's land objectives. Usually 1 dead center, then 1 on each flank. 1 here, and then 1 across the other side next to that building. To win 10th edition, it's no man's land is crucial. To stop your opponent from controlling it, and so that you control it, and then you rake in the points, both for primaries, for controlling those objectives, and also for secondaries that come up as well. So before we get going with deployment, just to mention the terrain setup that you can see here. I really like this one. This is the sort of industrial hive world sort of setup here. So battle map is from GameMat.eu. Quarantine zone it's called. It's actually a double-sided battle map, this one, for really good value. So it's got the Fallout zone print on the other side. It means you can just flip the map and you've got 2 different designs in one. They come with a zip carry case as well, so great for transporting and storage. They roll out nice and flat. They just immediately give you a nice colour scheme that you can use straight away. Figure friendly. Just a real good gaming surface. So that's from GameMat.eu. I'll leave a link for it in the video description below. There's also a discount code exclusively for us here as well. It's 11% off across the store, so you can use that for your terrain and battle mats at GameMat.eu, and they're shipping worldwide as well. The terrain is a mixture. It's Games Workshop terrain, the AdMech terrain, and also the industrial terrain set from GameMat.eu as well. These structures here, this structure in the middle, these containers are all part of that set. Also using the warp portal individual piece from GameMat.eu as well. Again, I'll leave links for that in the video description below. So first up, you're on deployment. You're going to allocate your units. This is quite a crucial point here for the Necrons. So the usual combo is Overlord with the Warriors, Warden with the 2nd Warrior Squad. Add the Technomancer to join the Wraiths. And then the Skorpekh Lord to join the Skorpekh Destroyers. You're then declaring your reserves, what to go into reserves with. And so I'm just going by what we've done in majority of games. The Triarch Pretorians have the ability to deep strike. So I'm just going to lay a model down, just signals to the opponent that, and it reminds me as well that I put a unit into reserve. I'm also going to flank with the Skorpekh Destroyers and Skorpekh Lord. So why do that? And the answer to that is the same really for both of these units. If I take Triarch Pretorians, I don't want to deploy here because I'm going to get shot to pieces. I could deploy here or here, but the downside to that is it's very predictable. The opponent knows they're there. They're not going to be over there. They're not going to be over there. They're going to be in this area here. So it's very predictable. And then as soon as I start trying to move out towards objectives, the opponent can then start reacting, shooting them, destroying them, and trying to take them on. So I think that's potentially a disadvantage. Unless you can find a real good spot that's really well hidden and you can get them into position nice and quickly. Same with the Skorpekh Destroyers. I want to go after that objective. I deploy here, I move out, the opponent reacts, starts shooting them down, and they're cut down. It's happened time and time again in games. Instead, you can protect them by keeping them off the board. So you can flank with these. Triarch Pretorians have deep strike ability. So I might have a situation in a game where I think, yeah, I want these to go after this objective, I'm going to deep strike in. But games can change, and there may be a situation where all of a sudden that objective becomes more viable. So you end up deep striking in across there to take that. And that's the flexibility of deep strike, is that you can come in all different places on the board. It creates a threat for the opponent. They don't know where you're going to arrive, and so it's dangerous enough for sure. Skorpekh Destroyers is different. I'm flanking with these. So turn 2, you can bring them on. Anywhere along your deployment zone, always keep that in mind. Or you can flank with them up to, I think it's the edge of the opponent's deployment zone. Once you get to turn 3, you can come on any table edge. So it's a real threat. Let's say I want these to go after this objective. Then at the right point during the game, turn 2, I can flank onto here if the coast is clear. Or I get 6 inches in, or I can come on here and then work my way around. Or if I'm going after this objective, I can come on here or further up. Or indeed use them to go after the opponent's home objective and flank on if the gap's there. Or if I'm in big trouble across here, I really need to hold my home objective and the opponent's closing in, I can bring them on as a reserve from the edge to counter-attack. So again, the flexibility is there. It's really handy having them off the board. And whilst they're off the table, the opponent's not able to shoot them, damage them, destroy them, and so on. So with that tactic comes a very crucial stratagem, and that is called Rapid Ingress. So look it up, it's just one of the core stratagems. When you can use it at the end of the opponent's movement phase, so at the end of, say, their movement on turn 2, all their moves are done. You're looking around the board for a gap and an opportunity, and you're looking to bring these on at the end of their movement phase. Now the advantage of that is once you've deployed on, then it comes around to your turn, you're then able to move out and then close the gap, close the range really well. So it's a very, very useful stratagem for flanking and deep striking any reserve type units coming onto the board. It's even deep strikers. So the opponent's there, and you can choose to deep strike. The options are regular deep strike, 9-inch charge, try and make the charge fail, or rapid ingress, tuck them in here, somewhere safe. The opponent does all their shooting, they're hidden, and then you move out on your turn from the safety of where you've hidden on the board. So massive advantages for using that. It's only one command point. It really can be a game-changing option. So I've gone ahead and done some deployment here. So you're trying to put down units that are quite predictable. I'm trying to save key firepower units or key strong units to have, keep the opponent guessing. I don't want to deploy those first because the opponent can react by keeping units away from them or indeed deploying units to go after them. So I'm trying to do the predictable stuff first. So usually putting things down like the Necron Warriors, for example. Quite mundane, straightforward unit. The opponent usually knows what they're going to be doing. They're going to be trying to flood onto an objective. So I've given myself 2 objectives to go after, to move out onto those. I've got the Royal Warden squad across here, and then I've got the Ramses model, the Overlord, with this squad across here. And it's obvious, they're intense to head off towards that objective. They're intense to go after that one. Bear in mind, he's got Veil of Darkness. Him and his unit can disappear and move off and deploy somewhere else once per game. If this objective really becomes not viable, I can just relocate. I've tried to tuck the characters in towards this terrain, trying to think of where I'd be taking casualties from, because I want the last model to go to be the character, for example. So I don't want to put the character here, and he's exposed, a lot more exposed and easier to kill. So try to think of cover for angles to protect them a little bit, is the idea with that. So I don't know, or you could put the character here so that he's the closest towards the objective. So you just got to think about where the character is. Usually it's the last place where the last of the casualties are going to come in. He's going to be the last model left standing, is the idea of that. So those 2 deploying up to their edge. If the coast is clear, the opponent may have super fast units that are going to close in really quick, so in which case you might want to be more conservative with these. But I'll just to demonstrate here, I've picked 2 objectives that I'm going to try and march to get to. Firepower support, a little bit obvious, kind of obvious here. I've stuck the Doomstalker across here on the objective. Line of sight through terrain not too bad, so some covering fire available from him, and his job's just to be a sentinel on that objective throughout the game. You're watching where the opponent's making their deployments. Then I've got Lokhust Destroyers. I think here's quite a good spot, tucked out of trouble. Pretty good angles across here, and then when the opportunity comes up, there could be like a land raider heading down here, then I'll emerge from here and then lay down my firepower, or the opponent's trying to break through there, like a Demon Prince or something trying to move through there, and I'll bring these around to lend some firepower support like so. So it's a nice bit of terrain that I can get round the edge of to the left or to the right. It's an ideal sort of piece situated across here, or this one, just about maybe. I think here's about the best spot. I don't want these getting wiped out, but at the same time I want them deploying so that they can get some good firepower angles. So I've pressed ahead with the rest of the deployment actually, because I've got a good number of units in reserve. So Command Barge, I put him here, nice sort of safe shelter position, one that's very central, so that he's giving his 6-inch +1 to hit rolls aura to multiple units. Remember, he's got his Resurrection Orb, which is all poised and in position to help out multiple units throughout the game. At the same time, nicely nestled in the heart of the army to direct the army throughout the game. Then, like for example, we give +1 to hit rolls, we give it to those. If they move, they don't get the heavy bonus, but they get the +1 to hit rolls coming from him, so it's a great combination. Then Wraiths are positioned here, so they are now a threat. Let's say I've reacted to the opponent's deployment. They've got some strong units heading down the middle. I think my Necron Warriors are going to be struggling to take that objective. So to assist them, I've put Wraiths nearby. They can lead the way, camp out on that objective, hold it, and then have Necron Warriors following up as a secondary surge towards that objective. That's pretty good, pretty strong combination across there. Alternatively, I could swing around and try and go after this objective across there. There's one objective I haven't really focused on, but that's okay. My reserves can cover that quite well. Just looking around, Tomb Blades I've put here in the middle. They have the scout ability of 9 inches, so we can make an early dash with those. I thought about perhaps putting them across here on this flank, but it's a bit exposed. I don't want them getting shot down. There's a nice bit of terrain in front of us, which is going to block a lot of firepower coming through. It's nicely sheltered. And again, if the opponent threatens one of these objectives, I've got some nice devastating wound firepower that I can swing left or swing right and still be sheltered behind this terrain quite nicely. I think that's quite a nice spot across there. And again, the buff of the Barge nearby to bless and help them with their shooting. So Tomb Blade's position there, it's nicely nestled in. They're a unit that's very useful. I can keep them firing one turn after the next throughout the game. They can chip away nicely with their devastating wounds ability. So quite happy with this. Looking quite condensed and strong. Set up nicely to go after 2 objectives in strength. And at the same time, not abandoning that objective across there. We've got 2 decent units that can go after it. So flanking. If I need help across here, I can flank on with these. As if I want to go after the opponent's home objective, I can turn 3, I can turn up over there if the coast is clear. And this objective that looks quite abandoned, I can turn up 6 inches in and flank with the Skorpekh Destroyers. They're a nice threat on the board. Or if the opponent's got a threatening units that's going to cause a menace for my main force, I'll bring these in as a reserve to counter them. And then Triarch Pretorians, again, deep strikers. Options I've got here, I can go in here, I can go after this one, I can go after the opponent's objective. Deep strikes are a fantastically flexible option with those, and by putting them into reserve and protecting them, guarding them from being blown to pieces and picked on by the opponent knows those units are dangerous, and if I go in, if I survive them on the board, I've lost 2/3 of the unit, then I'm under strength and the impact's lost. I'd rather try and deliver them at full strength for maximum impact, and so putting units into reserve is a great way of protecting your valuable units from being whittled down. So that's the idea of those. Plus it keeps the opponent guessing, they don't know where these units are going to turn up, and so it just keeps them on edge throughout the early stages of the game. So that's deployment tactics for the Necrons. So I've hopefully got a vision of how this is potentially going to go, although I can react in different ways as the game goes on. But I mean, even if I just hold the home objective and camp out on 2 in strength, that's a strong position to be in. It means the opponent's already got 1 to go after and plus their home objective, so the weight of objectives is in your favour. And if you can keep strong on those and still be a threat to the others, that's a good dominating position to be in for the Necrons. So play to your strengths with them, use their durability to survive, their ability to repair themselves is so useful. That's why I've gone for larger size units that are harder to wipe out. If I can survive with them, I can repair them and keep the Necrons strong throughout the game. And there's very dangerous close combat units in reserve, just to add some spice and danger to this Necron list. Keep a look out for more videos in this series. If you enjoy this series, these tactical videos, then do give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment, it's much appreciated. It means it really does spur us on, and we can keep this content and this series coming. Check out GameMat.eu for supplies of battle mats and pre-painted terrain. It's an amazing selection from them now. There's a great discount code for you there in the video description as well. So thanks for watching. Leave us your comments as well what you think about these tactics. Tune in next time.